Hello there. Michael Gove has ripped into the Scottish National Party for sticking its oar into the Brexit talks. Firstly, please subscribe and like this video to give my channel a boost, and I'm always uploading new content, so please do check back daily, and a big thanks to my Patreon and PayPal supporters. Now, before I get into the meat of the video, just a quick example of how much you, the little people, matter to the establishment. Not a lot, I hear you mutter. And you probably won't find many other people talking about this particular subject. Yesterday, the government made a statutory instrument called the National Health Service Dental Charges Amendment Regulations 2020. And the upshot is that as of the 14th of December this year, NHS dentistry charges will increase by an inflation-busting 5%. That's right, in the run-up to a pandemic-hit Christmas, just when people are coming under severe financial strain, with many having been unable to gain access to a dentist due to COVID, the government decides to up dentistry charges. This increase was postponed from April after the pandemic hit us, but to put up prices now is a stupid thing to do. Dentistry.co.uk says that a routine checkup will now increase by £1.10 to £23.80. Root canal surgery will go up by £3.10 to £65.20, and those wanting things like dentures will have to pay £282.80, an extra £13.50. The chair of the British Dental Association's General Dental Practice, Dave Cottam, said, "Slapping higher dental charges on patients struggling to secure care in a pandemic is utterly wrong-headed. This inflation-busting hike won't put an extra penny into a service in crisis or help millions currently unable to get an appointment. We've appealed to government for support to bring down the backlogs. Sadly, this short-sighted approach will only give lower-income, higher-risk patients more reason not to attend. Dentists are health professionals, not tax collectors. These charges have ceased to be a contribution and are now simply a substitute for decent state investment." Rishi Sunak is due to give his big green autumn statement tomorrow. Wonder if he'll mention this. Now, as I said at the start, the Scottish National Party have been sticking their oar into the Brexit talks, and in a leaked letter, Michael Gove, the Cabinet Minister and Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, has taken them to task over it. Gove sent the letter to Michael Russell, who is the Scottish Government's grand-sounding Cabinet Secretary for Constitution, Europe and External Affairs. Russell is a member of the Scottish Parliament who has represented the people of Argyll and Bute since 2011. Now, Michael Russell had previously written to Michael Gove talking about the failure to have any serious ministerial engagement, never mind a JMCEN ahead of the European Council, is particularly regrettable. The JMCEN being the Joint Ministerial Committee EU negotiations. And this stung Gove into a rather lengthy letter in reply, where he spelt out in great detail why the Scottish politician was wrong. Gove pointed out that despite the Brexit talks being a reserved matter for the UK government, Westminster had gone to great lengths to listen to the concerns of the Freudian slip, the devolved administrations. He also reminded Russell that the Ministerial Code places limits on the extent to which ministers can disclose the process of collective agreement of policy. And of course, what would a letter from a pro-EU SNP politician be without talking about a Brexit extension? On this, Gove said, "You return to the question of extending the transition period. This was discussed extensively in public and private, as I detailed in my letter of the 14th of June. but the UK government's position was always clear, and the deadline for extension has passed. I wonder why these Remainer rejoiner types keep harping on about Brextensions. And then we get to the nub of it. In his letter, Gove continues with, "As the government of the whole UK, the UK government represents the interests of people right across the country, including in Scotland, and is negotiating with the EU on a UK-wide basis. The Scottish Government accepts that international relations, including with the EU, is a reserved matter and remains the sole responsibility of the UK Government. For this reason, I should record that we have been disappointed by the political level contacts that the Scottish Government, including the First Minister, have had during the period of the negotiations with the EU's UK task force and specifically the EU's chief negotiator. In the view of our officials, this kind of contact, and specifically the discussion of sensitive issues under negotiations, is, and has been, detrimental to the overall UK position and has negatively affected the negotiating dynamic. In particular, the EU appears to have concluded from these contacts that EU offensive asks, for example on fisheries access and the permanent maintenance of the status quo on unfair common fisheries policy quotas, are outcomes the Scottish Government and perhaps even more damagingly Scottish stakeholders support. This is highly regrettable and damaging to UK interests, including in Scotland." Now, having had a look around social media, many SNP supporters are up in arms about this, saying the UK government is trying to shift the blame for any failures of Brexit onto the SNP. But they've got the wrong end of the stick. The SNP will be highly delighted that they've managed to stir the Brexit pot and had a damaging effect on the UK national interests, and especially on the Brexit negotiations, because that's why the SNP exists, to remove Scotland from the UK, and if they need to damage the UK in the process, even if it adversely affects their own citizens, then that's just collateral damage to them. So I will assume that the answer from the SNP to one paragraph in the Gove letter will be a resounding no, when the Cabinet Minister wrote, "As you also know, the UK government is committed to reforming our intergovernmental relations, and we very much hope that the Scottish Government will engage fully on this review so we can further improve the quality of our engagement." The only thing the SNP wants is disengagement at any cost, as so ably demonstrated by a now deleted tweet from Ian Blackford aimed at a member of the public, a tweeter called @OllieTPhoto. As the Scotsman reports, in his tweet he heavily suggested the photographer, who he claims is from the south of England, was flouting coronavirus rules by travelling to the north of Scotland to photograph the Northern Lights. Blackford was forced to apologise, and in a follow-up tweet he said, "I will continue to stand up for my constituents who frequently raise these concerns with me, but I recognise that it was wrong to query an individual on Twitter, and I apologise to OllieTPhoto for my earlier post, which I have deleted." Now I wonder what Blackford would have said if Boris Johnson or Michael Gove had sent such a tweet out about someone from Scotland. Meltdown springs to mind. But the leader of the SNP in Westminster didn't stop there. He's also sent a letter to the Prime Minister and Chancellor demanding a £98 billion spending spree. Anyway, back to Gove's letter. The Cabinet Minister also put the needle in about the money provided by the UK and sent north of the border. As you know, intensive negotiations with the EU are ongoing. Both parties are committed to concluding a deal that goes well beyond the WTO baseline. Nonetheless, as a responsible government, we want to ensure all parts of the UK are prepared for the end of the transition period. HM Treasury has provided the devolved administrations with considerable funding to make necessary preparations. The Scottish Government received £1.2 billion additional funding from Spending Round 2019, which included Barnett consequentials in relation to preparations for the end of the transition period. The Scottish Government will also receive a further £19.5 million of Barnett consequentials from the recent Borders funding exercise. I would be grateful for an update on how this money has been allocated for the benefit of citizens and businesses in Scotland to support their preparedness. I think the rest of us, including the people of Scotland, would be extremely keen to know the answers to that too. But the SNP has found £2 billion over the next decade to start the SNIB, the Scottish National Investment Bank. The SNP says, the new Scottish National Investment Bank has now officially opened to support infrastructure investment, harness innovation and support our vision for a more prosperous, fairer and greener future. And the SNIB's chairman, Willie Watt, said, I want it to become a trusted institution that is seen as being owned by the whole of Scotland, a non-political cornerstone institution in the investment landscape in Scotland. The SNP may also say they want this to be an independent bank, but they will still want to dictate the direction of travel and what it can lend money for. As Douglas Fraser, the BBC Business and Economy editor for Scotland, said, the trickiest bit can be getting the right level of autonomy, an arm's length from government interference, and denying ministers the easy option of bailouts when important employers are in financial distress. Only 2 days before the SNIB was launched, a Scottish Government policy paper was calling for it to bail out defaulting companies. Now, wouldn't that fall foul of European Union state aid rules? Surely they'll be doing all they can to stay aligned there, won't they? Maybe they'll be writing to Brussels to get an ECJ decision on it first. They seem to like talking to Brussels. And I wonder if the SNIB will be lending in euros. Anyway, if you want to hear more from me, please don't forget to subscribe and also press that little bell, or you won't get any notifications. And if you want to see more of me, buy a mug with my mug on it by following the link in the descriptions box below and support me on Patreon or PayPal. So what do you think about dental charges and the SNP Brexit interference? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.